If you know ball, you know the saying, he got that dog in him. This saying really interests me because it's really an immeasurable thing, but it can mean the difference between a Taylor Horton-Tucker and an Austin Reeves. You might be thinking now, what is this dude talking about? Horton-Tucker is an NBA champion, a solid third-year draft pick, who's progressed every year, this year being 10-3-3, while Reeves is coming into the 2022-23 NBA season as a second-year undrafted player who averaged 7-2-3. Anyone with some sense should pick THT. Well, I can't really argue with that logic, but I can confidently say that Laker Nation is likely higher on Reeves than THT. Why, you may ask? The clutch gene, the motor, will to win, willingness to sit in the chair, intangibles, it's all basically the same thing, aka the X factor. Don't believe me yet? Since I haven't explained all the goods yet, I'll give you a pass. But don't just take my word for it. The Lakers SB Nation site, Silver Screen and Roll, said the same thing themselves in the article Austin Reeves, Stanley Johnson, and Wenyen Gabriel are the 2022-23 Lakers X Factors. As you can see, this is the sentiment of their own community. Even more damning is the mention of THT and none in this article. Regardless, let's head back to the diet at hand. The Minnesota Timberwolves Anthony Edwards and Karl-Anthony Towns. Now, let me preface this with the Timberwolves are my second favorite team behind the Warriors. Yes, I am a bandwagon fan, but I've been one since their 15-0 start in 2015. Anyways, so I'm partial to both these guys, but can remain objective to an extent. I mean, obviously, this grouping is a better duo than THT and Reeves though. Just to get to the nitty-gritty stats and accolades out the way, starting with the big fella, Cat, he's a career 23, 3, and 11 guy, while averaging a little over a block and slightly under a steal on 52, 40, 83 shooting splits. On top of that, he's a 3-time All-Star, 2015-16 Rookie of the Year, and has 2 All-NBA selections. Not a bad resume by any measure for a 26-year-old, right? Moving on to Ant-Man, a career 25-3 guy on 43, 34, 78 shooting splits, with a spot on the All-Rookie team in 2020-21. Not too shabby for a second-year player, but I think if you take these names away, anyone in their right mind chooses Cat's production over Ant's. This is where it gets interesting, as it is quite the opposite in reality. From what I can tell, Ant may very well be the most beloved player in the league, even eclipsing the greats like LeBron and Steph. Now, that feels like blasphemy, but am I wrong? Ant is one of the best interviews in the league at 20 years old, has some of the greatest quotes in the NBA, plays hard on both ends, not backing down from any challenge, and he shows up in the clutch. Think about it, have you ever seen Anthony Edwards slander? Because it is few and far between in my social spaces. However, players like Bron and Steph still experience hate on a daily basis, especially when considering his counterpart and as of today, better player, Karl-Anthony Towns. From what I can tell, in doing research and just my general exposure to the T-Wolves, most of the disdain for Cat derives from an image of softness. In this next section, I'll explain why NBA fans and their media views Cat as losing the X factor, intangibles, clutch gene, or what have you. Coming off a stellar third-year season of which Cat played all 82 games, for the third season in a row no less. No one ever mentions that. He earned his first All-Star spot, an All-NBA third-team selection, and carried his team to the playoffs, albeit the 8th seed with a gentleman's sweep short after. Upon returning for the 2018-19 season, the T-Wolves media coverage spikes to an undoubtedly new high in recent memory, when Jimmy Butler, a star shooting guard / small forward traded from the Bulls a year before, pulled up to a practice in October of the following season after demanding a trade and fuming from Minnesota's refusal to offer him the max, and allegedly went 5v5 against the starters with the third stringers, Cat included, and won decidedly, talking trash throughout. In the following days, the aftermath was brutal for Cat's image in the league. That's not to say there was no pushback for Butler's actions, however. A good bit of media denounced his behavior and his ability to be a good teammate. But they didn't really say he was wrong. In fact, throughout overall media and sports outlets, The sentiment that Cat was more worried about stats than winning, that he doesn't have enough heart, or was just an overall soft player was running rampant during their segments, under social media posts and YouTube comments, and nearly every other place outside of the Twin Cities. From this point forward, the onus was on Cat to prove this take wrong, rather than the other way around. While I understand the NBA motto might as well be, "What have you done for me lately?" to me, it felt like a lot of pressure for a 23-year-old who just helped take a franchise to the playoffs that hasn't been there since 2004. Since this flashpoint, this narrative has grown leaps and bounds in some areas while subsiding in others. Starting with the direct and immediate, Butler would do a personal interview with Rachel Nichols and basically double down on everything and apologize for nothing, which nobody should have even expected him to, honestly. But it was clear that this would be the end for Butler's era with the T-Wolves, and he was traded the following week to the Sixers for Robert Covington, Dario Saric, Jared Bayless, and a 2022 second-round pick. In the time after, the specific moments that come to mind is Embiid and Cat's feud on the court and via Instagram in 2019, Butler going at Cat again in 2021, Stephen A. Smith telling Cat "you look soft" after his Game 3 loss in the 2018 playoffs. And if that's not enough, here's what I just had to throw in of a bunch of screenshots that reaffirm Cat's quote-unquote soft narrative. More recently, Cat caught some flack from NBA Twitter and media alike for how they handled their win against the Lakers in March, as well as the team's advancement into the playoffs with their play-in tournament win over the Clippers. Not so surprisingly, the narrative continues to build with snapshots of Cat quote-unquote crying or excessively complaining to refs during his round 1 series versus Ja Morant and the Memphis Grizzlies, which was a fantastic series by the way. Even after a Game 4 victory in this very series where Cat put up a team-high 33 points and 14 rebounds while also tacking on 3 assists and a block, the narrative surrounding the game and trending on Twitter was that Cat was purposely altering his voice to be deeper and appear more quote-unquote manly, or something, I don't know. Wild narrative, but a funny one, and wouldn't be surprised if there was some truth to it, honestly. That is because at that point, and in that situation that Cat finds himself in today, there is seemingly nothing other than winning that can save himself from this narrative. The clusterfuck of what was the Jimmy Butler exit in Minnesota, plus some poor luck and decisions, has entranced NBA fans, and to a degree NBA media, to believing he can't contribute to winning basketball, or is not a top 3 center in the game, which he earned another NBA 13 selection for his 2021-22 season. That is the true power of NBA narratives and part of what makes this league into this league. Switching over to the gold standard for a potential and current NBA star, Anthony Edwards, it is now time to trace how his narrative rose his stock into the stratosphere of untouchable and how the majority of it was earned. Unlike Cat, Ant is the poster child of having that dog in you, or winning intangibles, killer instinct, X factor, however you want to put it. However, if you really thought I was going to come in here and give you some purely unbiased takes on the reality of Ant's ability to play and contribute to winning basketball, you're wrong. Unfortunately, I am the victim of NBA narrative just as much as the next guy. The only difference is that I can admit when I'm affected by it. And here I am admitting that in Anthony Edwards' 2 years playing, he's become easily one of my top 5 favorite players. That being said, I can still remain objective about it. So let's identify how Ant's narrative was built. Anthony Edwards was a great prospect for a long time before the 2020 NBA draft, coming out of one of the most influential cities in America with Atlanta, Georgia as well. Also, he hosts a stellar one-and-done college year with UGA. Even with UGA's team performance being subpar, as they didn't even make the NCAA tournament, NBA front offices knew Ant was a special prospect. A quick side note, one of my earliest memories of Ant was a Twitter video actually that popped up on my timeline of him rapping, captioned, "I'm rapping like Lil Baby." And yeah, bro was really spitting, but what I remember most about the video was his radiating charisma and confidence, as corny as that sounds. From that point on, I hitched myself to the Anthony Edwards bandwagon. Moving into his rookie season, Ant would have some up and down performances throughout the year, playing about as good as you would expect a #1 overall pick to perform, but not yet jumping out as the guy that would take the league by storm. That is, until the day of February 19th, 2021. This would be the day Ant-Man's career would take off, and also be the day that Yuta Wannabe would remember for a long time, as Ant rises up and completely baptizes this poor soul in what would become the de facto dunk of the year of the 2020-21 NBA season. Although, when asked about the dunk post-game, Ant replied,
I mean, it was alright, but
the nuclear level fallout of this dunk was akin to the great Blake Griffin on Kendrick Perkins or Nate Robinson over Dwight. Hell, even throw Shaq on the poor Knicks player as well. If only for his personality in this dunk alone, Edwards could have coasted on being a fan favorite for some time, especially seen in his hilarious post-game quotes of,
"Yeah, man, I had to get Popeyes after the game."
Where do Popeyes fries rank?
Fries, they top 4.
Okay.
Or his advice to teammate Juancho Hernan Gomez, his future Hollywood co-star too, saying,
"Shoot the piss off the ball. Shoot the hell out of the ball." So I tell Juancho, if you catch the ball open, you don't shoot it, you losing money. You know what I'm saying? Like, that easy, that simple. So.
Or my personal favorite, his conversation with Bally Sports North reporter Marnie Gellner on his baseball talent.
Confidence. What positions did you play?
I played pitcher, shortstop, third base, and center field.
Those are the prime positions.
That's what I'm trying to tell.
Yeah, you were the best player on your team.
Is that now we talking?
You could hit the ball.
But I was 4th, 5th hitter. You know what that means.
Clean up. Yeah.
Straight clean up on aisle 3. Come get it.
He also had quotes that were not only funny, but showed his character in a way that motivated Minnesota to rally around him. My favorite example was his quote about Ricky Rubio in March of his rookie season.
He leads by example and communication. Like, you know, some leaders, they gonna lead by example. Some of them lead by talking, and, you know what I'm saying? But Ricky, he do both. He does it pretty good, if you ask me. I mean, like I said, I've taken bits and pieces from Ricky, and he keep telling me stuff that I don't know and helping me grow and learn. And like I said, he's the best leader I've been around all my life. Besides me being a leader, he's the best leader I've been around. And I feel like it's great for me to be able to learn from him.
Regardless, Timberwolves and the rest of the NBA community would soon realize he was going to be a fan favorite for his play too. And not just in the Timberwolves fan base, but for the whole league. And with the news of a new ownership group of Alex Rodriguez and Mark Lord taking the reins of the franchise next year, Ant even admitted,
a fan. Who is he?
The baseball player, Alex Rodriguez.
Yeah, I don't know.
Nevertheless, the future was bright for the Timberwolves, and the sky was the limit. Anthony Edwards would finish his rookie year strong, finishing with the average of 19, 3, and 5, with a steal on 42, 33, 79 shooting splits, with some impressive single game stat lines like 42, 3, and 7 versus the Suns, or 42, 6, and 7 versus the Grizzlies that really showed his potential. Heading into the 2021-22 season, expectations were high for Ant's confidence, and tenacity would measure out higher. The 2021-22 NBA season proved to be the most illustrious year for the T-Wolves since the Garnett years. This is undoubtedly a result of Ant's rise to stardom and presence in the locker room, but in all honesty, there were multiple bright spots on last year's Wolves roster, with Cat's best season as a pro, Jaden McDaniels proving to be a steal for them in the 2020 NBA draft, and consistent production from their role players like Malik Beasley, Jared Vanderbilt, and Patrick Beverley. Ant's offensive production capability began to flash early on in the season, opening up the season 3-1, including a close win over the defending champs, which led to Ant's hilarious quote of,
"For a guy like that, you can't stress about him scoring. Like, that's what he gonna do." I mean, motherfucker Sam 280 pounds, like, ain't nothing you can do about it. Like, shit, we put 4 people on him, he still scored the ball. I was telling Leo today, I was like, cause we played Young's last year. I'm like, bro, I ain't never seen nothing like it. Like, you can put 4 people on him, he might miss it, jump right back up, dunk that bitch.
But the real attention came after the game, with sports media sites waiting at the drop of a pin for Ant's funny antics and authenticity during the NBA's post-game press conferences in hopes to get a quote card up before one another for an easy viral moment. Before I talk about the rest of Edwards' goldmine of quotes, I want to look back on the Timberwolves' November 24th, 2021 game against the Heat. After a small scuffle over the ball with none other than Jimmy Buckets himself, Edwards took it upon himself to end the beef decidedly with a Lake Minnetonka Light baptism posterizer dunk on the Heat's Gabe Vincent. Funny part about this one is I don't even think it counted, as Ant was called for a charge on the play, which should be a punishable offense, but I digress. Regardless, I refuse to let this highlight slip away on account of that. During my research for this video, I even stumbled upon a story titled Anthony Edwardsism. I quote-unquote feel like Black Jesus, adds the Timberwolves star's running list of hilarious quotes by Sporting News' Kyle Irving. Interesting name. The story mentioned much of the quotes I've already put here, with some new ones from the 2022 season. Most notable of the bunch were on his growth spurt to 6'6" over the offseason following his rookie year, or his quotes from a summer league interview that will help clear up the Lake Minnetonka baptism joke I made earlier.
I learned I got a new hobby, bowling. I'm really good at bowling now.
Oh.
Yeah, very.
Like strikes?
Yeah.
Bumpers or no?
Man, come on, man. Like 200. I'm bowling 200 for sure.
Okay, that's not what we talked about pre-interview. Tell me about Lake Minnetonka.
Oh yeah, man. You know, I got baptized in Lake Minnetonka. I hit a couple backflips, swimming. I'm going back out there real soon. Meet me at Lake Minnetonka, all Minnesota fans. I'm going back out there, jet skis, everything. We're gonna have fun.
Can you swim?
Yeah, like Michael Phelps.
Like Michael Phelps?
Yeah.
Oh.
Or his heated debate about peanut butter.
Explains it.
But I wouldn't like.
You never had.
Try it. I wouldn't even try it.
Well, if you hate texture, yeah, you wouldn't like it.
Yeah, I'm a big texture guy when it comes to food.
Well, crunchy has texture.
No, it doesn't. It's crunchy. I don't want crunchy.
Crunchy is texture.
No. Creamy is better.
Creamy on bread is no texture in the entire bite.
Give it up. Why not?
Well, what texture is that?
It makes the peanut butter and jelly. It goes better together. I've never seen nobody eat in my family. We've never bought crunchy peanut butter.
Give it a shot.
No way. So stay right down the aisle. I ain't buying it.
Or his quote ahead of one of Minnesota's back-to-backs this season. The fact that he owns a flip phone in 2022. Or his answer about the challenge of going against Utah's Rudy Gobert.
He the best rim protector in the league is Porzingis. Like anytime I go against Porzingis, I don't get no layups. Like, you know what I'm saying? So like, I don't get why we couldn't finish on Rudy Gobert, but don't put no fear in my heart. I mean, yeah, I don't know why.
Which may make things slightly awkward heading into the next season on what it felt like dropping 40 points on the Blazers.
Feel like Black Jesus.
Sheesh, that was a long list, but it kind of paints the pictures of the personified entertainment gold that is Anthony Edwards. Also, it's important to note, only a kind of player like Ant could get away with these types of antics. Even more importantly, if Cat even attempted a fraction of this behavior, he'd be smashed online for not caring or acting cooler than he actually is. Not saying it's right or wrong, but you and I both know that's what would happen. Sometimes people just have it easier than others though. All in all, Ant established himself as a hot commodity on and off the court. Edwards' stardom would reach new heights as the team made the play-in and would face Ja Morant and the Memphis Grizzlies. Remember when I mentioned the flack the Timberwolves caught from their celebration of winning the play-in tournament? Guess who was left out of the roast session? None other than Ant Edwards. Coincidence? Maybe. Entirely possible. Ant just was handling himself better. But interesting to say the least. Ant was no slouch in his first round appearance against Memphis, however, averaging 25, 4, and 3 in the 6-game series, receiving much more praise and less scrutiny than Cat, which some can be attributed to simply his age compared to Cat's. Ant had an argument for overall fan favor of the series, even challenging the likes of megastar Ja Morant. Edwards became the youngest T-Wolf to score 30 plus in his playoff debut. On top of that, it seemed like every time Minnesota called on him in the clutch, he'd answer, which is a true test of a rising star in the NBA. That's not to say Ant's first playoff performance was without flaws though. In fact, the first game would be the only game he recorded a positive plus minus. Was the lack of criticism a result of his age, or something more? No one knows for sure, but two things can be true. One being Ant played a great first playoff series in year 2 of his career, and 2, he struggled in some areas of his game, but just lets you know how glowingly he is viewed in NBA inner and outer circles. Taking a step back from all that we know about these two great players, they're more comparable than you may think. Both first overall draft picks, high offensive expectations, and well, they both play for the T-Wolves, which means they're in a comparable situation as well. Shoot, they even both have 3-letter nicknames. From the start of Cat's career, he was fighting an uphill battle against his expectations akin to not having the post-up game of a Jahlil Okafor, lacking the defensive prowess which led fans and media to question his will to win, and everything else I mentioned up to this point. Yet, every year, Cat improves, stays out of trouble, is seemingly a nice guy, and his production on the court speaks for itself. However, he gets a bad rap in NBA conversations anywhere outside of the Twin Cities. Why is that, you may ask? Well, as we deciphered, it all traces back to the flashpoint of the Jimmy Butler practice incident and has sprawled uncontrollably from there. On the other hand, Ant has been the poster child for NBA fans and media. Because of his hilarious antics in post-game pressers, insanely talented play, and inhuman athletic ability, he has become someone with a true chance to become the face of the league one day, which feels crazy to say about a small market team like Minnesota. On one hand, it feels and seems as if Ant could do no wrong in NBA watchers' eyes, while we both know that is facetious. But even as I write this script out, it feels almost blasphemous to challenge anything Ant does on the court. I mean, yeah, he was inefficient and takes plays off on defense from time to time, but I mean, it's Ant. His moxie, poise, leading qualities, X factor, will to win, or just that dog in him just makes him the easiest player in the league to root for, and I don't think anyone would have it another way, honestly. So basically what I wanted to illustrate to you guys by this video was the power of narrative and likability in the NBA. It begs the question of what could Cat be right now with the type of media and fan support Ant has, and that sentiment can be transferred onto any other overhated player as well. I believe that great players will be great players regardless of their environment, and there's even some players who thrive off hate. However, the power of narrative and the abstract quality of the X factor is the reason that even though Cat currently measures out to be the best player on the Wolves, Ant's immeasurables is what makes him their most valuable player and their future. This has been the power of narrative and likability in the NBA, Anthony Edwards versus Karl-Anthony Towns. Hope you guys enjoyed the vid. Thanks for taking time out your day to watch it. If you got any thoughts or opinions, let me know down below. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. And this was made by Underdog.